Hello, everyone, and welcome back to 1000 Gurus. Please welcome my guest, RJ.
Hi there.
Thanks for being here, man. Appreciate
Yeah,
it.
yeah. Thanks for the invite. I
Yeah.
was actually really surprised that you invited me because I was like, oh wow,
What? But you're a friend of mine,
yeah,
and I respect you, and
yeah,
I think
yeah.
you have good insights, and we're like similar age
I hope,
range.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And thanks for coming from Rancho. I know it's like pretty
Oh,
far out,
oh
right?
yeah. It's always a journey coming out to like Orange
Hmm.
County or like Los Angeles. Just
Yeah.
trying to like drive, make my way over. But I appreciate the time I take to just come here.
Yeah. No, I
Thankfully, I got
mean,
here.
same. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna say because I didn't know until recently, until after. Well, I didn't know that Rancho Cucamonga is like there's Filipinos there.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
And, after meeting you and then, like, Mika from Shiro,
Mhm.
like and then, Blessy was like, "Yeah, Rancho Cucamonga," and then I finding out that, like, there's restaurants there, I'm like, "Oh, yeah, that's a definitely a Filipino
Yeah,
place."
yeah, yeah.
I have this, I think I told you, but I have this stand-up comedy joke where it's like, how do you find Filipinos in your area? You
Mm.
just open up Google Maps, type in Jollibee, and a
Oh,
5-mile
yeah.
radius is where all the Filipinos are.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I looked it up and, like, there is a Jollibee there,
There's a
right? Yeah,
Jollibee,
so
and
there you
it's
go.
right next to Seafood City.
There you go.
Dude,
That's
that's
how you
like
know where the
yeah,
Filipinos are.
yeah,
It's a real thing. But
yeah, yeah.
I didn't realize so recently, and I'm like, okay, well, it makes sense. RJ lives there, Mickey lives there. I'm sure other people live
Those are the
there.
prerequisites of being a
Exactly,
Filipino.
and some of the
Yeah.
other like candy people live out in that area too. So I was
Mm.
like, okay, that makes sense. All right, so let's get into how I know you. So, I think we first met when you filmed Choreos' BTS Dynamite cover, right?
Yes.
And I was like, oh, because like usually we internally film like we have filmers internally for our choreos, but I think this one it was like during the pandemic, and so and there wasn't a lot of people there,
Yes.
like there. So I think someone reached out to you and was like, oh, can you film our cover? And so you were one of the first people who were like an outside filmer for choreos, so that was kind of rare. But then you're super chill, and then since then I started dancing with you through Untitled.
Mhm.
Also like people like Travis who was on the show as well, like dance with him. And so we did a handful of 17 covers together, like Rock With You, Super Crush, right?
Mhm.
And then we also danced together for K Factor in 2022.
Mhm.
And let's see. Yeah, I've also been to your place a couple times because you do a lot of your own recording audio stuff, like
Mhm.
covers with various other dancers as well. You've done some stuff with Blessy as well, and so that's why we kind of I mean, she knows this, but like I'll drive her there. She's like, "Hey, are you free this next weekend to go to RG's place?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure." So I'm her chauffeur,
Yeah.
and then she'll sing, and then I'll just be chilling there. But yeah, I think that's pretty much like our relationship in a nutshell. What else? Anything? Any clarifications, or what are you up to?
I didn't yeah, I think, I totally forgot that that was kind of when we met, the Dynamite cover.
Hmm.
I just remember I think it was like Bao or something who hit
Mm.
me up, and I was surprised too. I was like, "Wait, I get to film a Choreos cover?"
I
'Cause
know,
at the time, they were
very
kinda like a big
exclusive.
yeah, exclusive, kind of a big deal in the cover community, especially in Southern California. So that was a really cool I'm thankful for that opportunity because, we met each other, and obviously I met, like, some of the other people in the Choreos too, so that was pretty cool. Apart from that, I don't think there's really any, other clarifications, really,
Hmm.
like, especially with how we met, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
exactly. And you fit the bill for one of my guests because you are Filipino.
We
Um,
both have two-letter names,
Two letter
yeah,
names,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
I think my audience knows that like 80% of my guests are, well, 95% of my guests are dancers,
Right.
and or they fall into the category of Filipino,
Mhm.
female content creator, or some sort of like gay dude.
Those
So
those are very, like, specific, like
exactly. But I
yeah.
look back at the roster, I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's
The
85% of my
yes,
guests are
the
those.
the
But
only way you'll be invited to 1,000 Gurus
yeah,
is
if
if you
you
fit.
fit in all three categories and
Yeah.
you're a dancer, you're probably gonna be on the show.
That's what that's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So if nothing else, then we can go into the first topic. So as with all of my guests, we go into origin story just to humanize you a little bit.
Yeah.
So where did you grow up, and what were your main influences during your childhood?
So, I was actually born on the East Coast. I was born in New Jersey.
I didn't actually know that.
Yeah, I lived there since I was, like, 5, and then, yeah, pretty much like an East Coast baby. Then I moved to Southern California when I was like 5 or 6, and I've been living in the Rancho Inland Empire area
Mm,
kind of ever since. Um, kind of guess kind of like my influences. Like I was pretty much like influenced by like family most of the time.
mm,
Did a lot of like weekend parties with like Filipinos are always like that. Did a lot of weekend parties at my uncle's house. Just hung out like in Rancho all the time. and basically, especially like career wise, I think my biggest influence is probably like my dad because he's like his most of his family is like musicians. Like they didn't like pursue it like as a career; they mostly just do it as a hobby. And I think I just kind of like decided to do that like rather than everybody else who's like, oh, that's not a safe like type of career to do. I'm just like, well, I'm gonna prove you wrong, right? It's like, because when you're Filipino and you do anything like outside of like nursing or like whatever, everyone's like, what do you want to do with your life, right?
Yeah.
It's like I don't think so, right? Yeah.
Was it the same for you with like the whole Filipino pressure of going into nursing or whatever?
Yeah, like because
Wait, do you have siblings? I forgot.
I do have
You do,
siblings.
right?
Yeah, I have one older sister and then one older brother.
Mm.
So I'm the youngest. Yeah. And my like going back to the whole like pressure of like nursing. Yeah, like a lot of my cousins were nurses, right? Like even now, like my mom, like I'm already like pretty well into like my career as like an audio editor and like a sound engineer. And my mom's like, "Are you sure you don't want to do nursing?" It's just
It's not
like
too
it's
late.
not too late. I was like, "Mom, I'm already here. Like
Yeah.
I already have like a pretty decent connections right now. I think I'm pretty much figuring it out right now."
Mm.
Yeah. That's pretty much like kind of how that works. Yeah.
Yeah. What does your sister and brother do if you don't mind me asking?
So my sister is a boxing trainer in Santa Fe Springs. She
What
owns
the
her
fuck?
own.
Boxing trainer?
Yeah, she owns her own boxing gym in Santa Fe Springs. Do you know where Snow Globe is at? The new one.
I have an idea, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Her boxing gym is like right next to that. Yeah, it's really
Oh.
funny. Yeah, so she does that, and it's cool because she's actually she's very well known in the community in the boxing community because she's female and she's also Asian,
Mm.
so it's like really cool like PR, right? People try to like talk to her all the time. It's like, oh
Yeah.
my god, you're like the coolest
Yeah.
Filipino girl I ever met. Like there are moments she's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna meet Manny Pacquiao like
Yeah.
today. I was like, really?
You
Like
know, just Manny
yeah,
Pacquiao.
just casually like mention it. I'm just like, that's cool,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, it was really cool. And then my brother is game art designer.
Mm.
Yeah, but he also works as a like warehouse stuff also. So he does like some of the game art stuff on the side, but he works does like warehouse
Mm.
tech, I think. Yeah.
It's interesting. So you and your siblings are very like quote unquote atypical for like a
Yeah, we're kind of
Filipino family.
yeah, like comparatively to like a lot of our cousins and stuff, we're like like black sheep
Yeah.
of our cousins. And I always find it funny whenever we're like hanging out at like parties and stuff. My cousins talk about like how hard of a day they had at like the hospital, and
Mm.
they're like, "Hey," and they're like, "Oh, Kuya RJ, what did you do at this week?" And I was like, "Oh, I filmed a music video, right? Oh, I made a song with like my friend." And it's
Yeah.
like really funny this sort of juxtaposition between me and like my cousins. Yeah.
Mm. Did you tangent? Did you ever like get into boxing or try it out or like?
No, I think that was something that like that was really just my sister,
Oh, I
right?
see. I
I
see.
mean, I did like it, Pacquiao part of it.
Right. No, that's what I was saying. Like it's in our
Yeah.
genetics apparently. Boxing.
Yeah.
I did
maybe
boxing
just
for a little bit.
maybe just for my sister. I
Right.
mean, maybe like well, my brother also did maybe like I don't know if it like fits. Like my brother did karate when he was younger.
Mm.
I think the most that I've done with like I guess just like body movement, I guess is just dancing if
Right. Right.
anything. Yeah. I don't think I've ever done like fighting or whatever. Yeah. That's pretty much it.
Well, I mean, like you're a dancer and a singer, musician, so you have a lot of the Filipino check boxes already
Yeah,
done.
yeah.
You're just obviously just not a nurse, but that's totally
I
fine.
think it's like I think about that stuff like like infinity stones kind of. It's
Mm.
like to be Filipino.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like oh yeah, I have only four of like the five. Like oh I guess I'm never gonna achieve full power as a
Right.
Filipino.
Right.
I'm not a
Exactly.
nurse. Yeah.
What else is there? Being astronaut? Like I
Uh,
know nurse.
yeah. Nurse. I guess sing or no. Yeah. Nurse, singing, dancing. Maybe I guess being good at cooking.
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
something
Or
like that.
like working like at the post office.
I
Like
think so.
that's a
Yeah.
Filipino
Yeah.
thing.
It's a very Filipino thing.
Or working at Jollibee
Working at
apparently.
Jollibee.
Or at least
Yeah.
having a relative that works
Something
there.
like that. Yeah.
So I know one of the topics we wanted to get to was your experience growing up Filipino American in SoCal.
Mhm.
I'm from the Bay, and so
Yeah.
like I'm a quote unquote transplant since college. But
Yeah.
so I guess like I guess for my own curiosity, like was it like growing up Filipino American in SoCal, and what do you think are some of the nuances that you people might not know about?
I think I think it really just stems down to like family. I don't think there really is an inherent difference between like when you're from the Bay or from when you're down here, right? I think it really all just kind of stems from knowing whether or not like your family is willing to kind of give you the sort of the culture back to you. And I think my family in particular, when you're growing up as like a Filipino American, it's a little bit more of like an identity crisis. It's like, oh, you hear your aunts and uncles like speak like Tagalog like all the time like around you, and you want to know what they say, right? Like I'm. It's unfortunate for me that I've never learned how to speak Tagalog because my parents never taught it to me because they just never thought it was like like a good idea to teach me, there's no point, right? It's like you're in America, just speak English
Oh,
and
I
you'll
see.
succeed, right? And then years later, like now my mom's like, man, I should have taught you Tagalog. Should have taught you Filipino. I was like, well, I don't think that's my fault, but they thought of like what was kind of like what was best for me and
Right.
like being an American. But it was funny because I think I developed more of a sense of learning the culture on my own as I got older,
Mm.
especially when I met up with like a lot of like different friends from college who were in like Filipino clubs and like doing a lot of performances and stuff. So I think that might be sort of the difference between like certain people who want to experience being Filipino, and I don't think there is a difference between like NorCal versus like SoCal, like Filipino American culture. Really, it's really just what you make of it.
Right,
Actually,
right, right. I wasn't sure if there was like, I guess everyone's Filipino American experience can be the same or
yeah, yeah,
different. I know there's a lot of common denominators, which is what we find out in this age of social media.
yeah.
But where's your family or parents from in Philippines?
So my
Not that I
mom,
would know really, but
so my dad is from Batangas,
oh
and
right.
then my mom is from Manila, but she's uh from Pampangan, so she
Mm.
speaks Kapampangan.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so they're very like even that is like Kapampangan is like a whole other language
Mm.
too, and it's just like even my dad speaks like Batangueño, right?
Hmm.
Which is like more like deep Tagalog,
Mm.
right? Because like Tagalog right now, it's mostly like Spanish along with Tagalog, but my dad speaks like pure Tagalog also. So you
Mm.
have like words that mean certain stuff that would otherwise mean different differently in Spanish, but yeah, but basically, yeah, they're kind of like, yeah, that's pretty much where they're from, yeah.
I forget because Blessy, her family's from one side Batangas and Mindoro. But does your dad drink or have coffee on rice? Is that the thing in your family?
I've never asked him actually.
Really?
I mean, he probably does. I just
Yeah.
had never seen him do it. Maybe. Yeah.
That was a big thing when Blessy and I were on TikTok a lot, and
Yeah.
then I realized that her family obviously does that a lot. I didn't even know if my family did that, but then my mom was like, "Oh yeah, some people do, but not all." Like I never grew up seeing people do that.
Coffee on rice. Like,
Coffee on rice,
oh, I've
yeah.
never heard of that
Really?
actually. Yeah.
I feel like we've have we not talked about
I don't
this
know.
before?
I mean, I've seen a lot of Filipino
Yeah.
like recipes and
Okay, so
like,
just white rice on a plate, and
yeah,
then like black coffee, hot, and you
yeah.
just pour it on and you eat it.
What
Yeah,
really?
that's
That's
a
a thing.
that's
I'm
yeah.
gonna ask my dad about it.
Look at
Yeah.
at our comment section in our TikToks. It's
Yeah.
like there's a war. It's like people are like, "Ew, that's gross." And people are
Yeah.
like, "Oh, I do that. Like my family does
Okay,
that."
no, okay, like one thing I could tell you is that like do you know champorado?
Mhm, mhm,
Yeah. Have you had like like dilis, like fish with champorado before?
mhm.
Yeah, it's like that. It's like a sweet
Oh,
savory kind of thing. Like
yeah,
that's the craziest thing I've
yeah,
heard
yeah,
from
yeah.
like I've tried it. I was like, it's pretty good, right? But I've never heard of like coffee
Interesting.
on rice or whatever.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I always give Blessy a hard time about that because I'm like, "Ew, that's gross." I mean, it's not really gross, but she
Yeah.
gets so offended that I just keep going
Yeah.
anyways.
Filipino taste buds are just like titanium, dude. I don't know what it is,
Yeah.
man.
And
Yeah.
it's and even then it's not even just a Filipino thing. Apparently some Asian
Oh,
like
really?
cultures also do
Yeah.
coffee on rice, but that's just what we found out.
Oh.
Okay, so I guess maybe you touched upon this, but challenges, advantages of that you feel like being Filipino American lent to your journey or your experience?
Well, I think me being Filipino, it did introduce me to singing. Like
Oh, there you go.
I joined the Filipino choir, because of my parents, obviously, at my church, and then that kind of moved into me becoming like a musician at my church, right? So then I think that's one of the advantages. You kind of just learn how to like operate with people socially and like in a group setting,
Makes sense.
and like some sort of like because I think being Filipino, like Filipino is like mostly about community. They're very welcoming and inviting. So when you're kind of around those types of people a lot, you tend to try to give off that same energy to a lot of people who probably aren't Filipino, or maybe they are Filipino. But otherwise, I don't think there was any real challenges apart from like the comparative nature of you
Of course.
being like like, oh, why aren't you this? Why aren't
Why
you
aren't
this?
you a NASA astronaut
Yeah, why aren't
who's also
you a
moving?
nurse? Yeah, why aren't you a nurse in space? Like that
Yeah.
does like, yeah, that's pretty much. Yeah, I don't think there's anything more to that actually.
So, like last weekend or the weekend before, I went to the East Coast to visit my mom's family,
Mhm.
and it was like one of the first times that all of my aunts and uncles on my mom's side and some of my grandparents were there.
Yeah.
And it brought me back because I realized that my whole family, it seems like they're all extroverts and they're all loud.
Oh yeah.
And then I'm just quiet in the
Yeah, yeah.
corner, which I've always been, but it just was a not a culture shock, but it was kind of like a punch in the face. Like, wow, actually, my family is like this.
Yeah.
I'm kind of like the odd one out because I'll just
Yeah.
listen and then I'll throw in a joke and then people will laugh and then I
Yeah.
just go back to
Yeah,
listening.
yeah, yeah.
Because when there's too many extroverts, I just start to become more introverted. But when there's too many introverts, I'll become extroverted.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
I think it's funny you mentioned the community thing too, because my family is also like that. Like they're also like mixed Filipino American. My grandma's like super Filipino, but
Mhm.
yeah, it's very communal. And even though it's like there's differences, but it's still very family.
Yeah,
Same with my dad's side too.
yeah.
Okay, so the last question on this, well, you kind of already went into career aspirations and trajectory, but I know you just mentioned how you got into singing, but how did you get into dance?
So I got into dance,
Your genetics.
maybe. When I got into dance because when I moved back to public high school in, I think, like, my junior year of high school, you I wanted like, I hung out with, like, a lot of Asian people, right? It's just like, high school is kinda sectioned off as, like,
Mhm.
oh, all the Mexican kids are, like,
People
one
self
place.
segregate,
Yeah, people self-segregate because they just wanna feel comfortable.
Mhm.
So it's like all the Asians are in one place. So I hung out with all the Asian people, and they were, like, talking about this b-boy club that was, like, after school, and I was like, "Dang, that sounds cool, I wanna go," and I went, and I was like, "Dang, I wanna learn how to six step, I wanna learn how to baby freeze," right? And it wasn't honestly, like, a lot of people go into it as, like, a phase, but I really looked into it, I was like, "Maybe this could be a cool, like, recreational thing because I don't really do anything active, right? Besides, like, maybe just, like, play basketball or something, right? So I decided to just go for it, and then from there, it went from, oh, like, learning how to b-boy to, "Oh, can you perform with us on stage at this, like, event?" I'm like, "Sure." And then that's kind of when I got into, like, more, like, hip hop choreo stuff. And then I think after that, I went more into, like, K-pop stuff 'cause kinda blowing up. I knew about K-pop from, like, a while, but I never bothered to do, like.
This was during high school, college,
Yeah, I think, in high school, that's when I kinda started how to
like
dance.
dancing. Yeah.
Yeah, but then when I started doing more performance stuff was, like, after high school,
Oh, I
basically.
see.
Yeah. And that's pretty much, like, how I started dancing, basically. I just wanted to be cool b-boy Filipino kid in high school, basically.
Mm.
Yeah.
So how about K-pop? Since you just mentioned that.
Mm, I got into dancing for K-pop because my friend from CSUF, or Cal State Fullerton, she was saying, like, "Oh, we need one more person for our, dance competition at, Anime Expo." And I was like, "Yeah, sure, I can join." And then because that person who invited me, she was part of this cultural event, Filipino dance cultural event that we did. She was like, "Yeah, we need one more person. I know you like K-pop. Do you wanna just do this?" I'm like, "Sure, I guess." And I joined, and then that's when I met, like, everybody else in, like, the community, basically. And, like, I met Ed, HD, Nico, basically, like, a lot of the other people who were, like, in that. And at the time, that was, like, the only way you can really meet, like,
Mm.
dancers and stuff. But yeah, that's pretty much how I kind of cemented myself in the K-pop community.
Mm.
Yeah.
What got you into K-pop? Like first off, was there specific artists or how did you come across it?
I think like most people, it was like
Mm.
Taeyang, Big Bang, and, like, Sonushide, like,
So
G.
like 2008 to 2009, 10.
Basically, yeah, like, I'm pretty old fan. Like, when, I remember when, and, like, Sistar, right? Like, My Boy, like, when SNSD came out with G, I was like, "Man, who are these really pretty girls in, like,
With
colorful
colored
planet?"
jeans,
Yeah, colorful planet.
colorful
So, like,
jeans.
this song is so addicting, and then everybody wanted to be Taeyong. I remember in high school, everybody had the fedora, like, on the
Mm,
side of their head and everything. It was either you wanted to be Taeyong or you wanted to be Neo, right? It was, like,
mm,
one of the 2, right?
mhm,
Yeah, that's pretty much how I got into it.
It's
Yeah.
like Fedora. Who do you like, Taeyang, Neo?
Yeah. He's like, "I love GD," or something.
Yeah,
It's great.
exactly.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so now I guess we're going into singing. Wanted to ask you about the story of how you got first place in a K-pop vocal cover competition.
Yeah, so me along with our friend Ed, right? Like, I met Ed, like, a while back, and we did competitions together, like K Factor and, like, what have you. And we saw that KCON was actually having a, vocal cover competition. And normally, when you think of, like, cover competitions in, like, at KCON or, like, any, like, K-pop sponsor, like, event, you would think they're mostly, like, dancing, right? And
Mm,
that's kind of the norm. When we found out that they were having a vocal cover one, I just messaged Ed. I was like, "Hey, man, you want to do this thing?" And he's like, "Sure, we'll do it." And I'm very thankful to Ed for being, like, always down to do stuff like that. So we do the thing, and then I think it was, like, based on, like, voting, so we kinda, like, PR'd ourselves a lot. We're
mm,
like, "Hey, vote for us," like, whatever. And then we made a music video for it, and just to kinda show people, "Hey, we mean business," right?
yeah.
We're not just, like, singing in our room or whatever. And no discredit to people who do that, but we wanted to show people that there's a little bit more effort being done by people who also like singing in K-pop. And then so, we got up on stage and we just we just did our best. We killed it, had fun. See all of our friends like in the audience. I was like, man, I feel like a K-pop star, man. It was
Mm.
cool. The lights are shining in your face and like whatever. And there really wasn't a lot of I don't think there really was like a lot of prep work to it because I've been singing with Ed for so long already. We kind of know each other's like niches in terms of like performing.
Mm.
So it's like I think when you do something for a while like for so long with somebody else, you kind of just bounce off of each other in a very organic way, and I think that's kind of what put us over the edge to get first place. Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's like more natural. You're in the flow.
yeah. And I mean, there is also a lot of like prep work to be done, right? Because you do a performance, and then one like previous performance something goes wrong, and then you think about, okay, how do we make this better for the next one, right? So you prep, and you're like, okay, we need a countdown in the beginning so we don't mess up the timing, right? It's like, oh, maybe we shouldn't like run around so much. We'll get tired more easily, right? So really things like that. I guess more so the previous performances that we've had, especially when doing like other competitions or like other events and stuff. I think that is more of the um more of what helped us get over the edge for CoverStar K at KCON. Yeah.
Mm. Okay, I have a few questions to follow up to that. What year was this when you guys
So it's 2019.
2019? And
Yeah.
then what songs did you guys sing?
So we only did Ah Yeah by Winner.
Mm.
Yeah. And then, I think around that time I think Winner was there for at
Oh,
KCON. So I think it helped a little bit.
yeah.
It's like, oh,
It
this is
wasn't like a you have to do one of these songs from one of the artists.
yeah,
It was
yeah,
like
yeah.
whatever, but you guys did
We
the
did it
artist there.
anyway, yeah. And I think I think Ed and I really work well when we do like YG
Mm.
style songs. The
Well, that makes sense.
crowd pleasers, like a lot of yelling, a lot of rapping.
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
Well, it makes sense. Okay, and then so if I'm getting this correct, was it like a two-phase sort of competition?
Yeah,
You
so
submit a video and then live performance
yeah, so there was the voting phase, which was the first round, and then the second round was pretty much the finals. And I think only 5 people were chosen in
to
the
perform.
yeah to perform.
Mm.
And it was funny because I remember one of the this might be a little bit of a tangent, but one of the people that was supposed to be in it, we made a group chat. It was like, oh wow, I can't wait to meet you guys so we can all hang out. And then like later on, they found out that one of the girls was like 17 years old. She wasn't like an adult, so she wasn't allowed,
Eligible?
yeah,
Oh,
eligible to perform. So it's like she made
dang.
this group chat and sorely disappointed. I was
Oh,
like, what do we do? Right? I
yeah.
felt so bad. But yeah, no, she's cool though. She's she forever hates CoverStar K brand
You're
because
like,
of
you're
that.
so close, almost
Yeah,
got in.
yeah,
That's
pretty
crazy.
much
Wait,
it.
so it was the same song you performed, so that you
Yeah,
recorded?
yeah. So the
Oh,
same
okay.
song we made a music for, we performed it at the competition.
Do you remember who judged?
I don't. I actually,
Like
I
a
remember.
panel?
Yeah, it was like a panel. I think there was like a couple of like KCON like representatives. There was this one like producer guy named like Kairos or something.
Mm.
He like gave us his card and we were just like, oh yeah, here you go. And then I tried calling him and he like never answered. I was like,
Oh.
okay, so that's kind of like the reality of the situation, right? It's like, you can perform at KCON, you can do great, but sometimes you're probably not gonna make it anyway. I mean, he did. I bet he did as like a courtesy, like
Mm.
just to give us something, right? I'm not bad mouthing him or anything. But that's just kind of what it is, right?
Yeah.
But we did like I remember we did win like 2 tickets to go to the actual concert. I wasn't planning on going to the concert.
Mm.
He gave us the tickets, and they were like, "Oh yeah, here you go." And then I remember going to the concert, and they were just like, "Oh yeah, here I want you guys to go downstairs." And we were like, "Downstairs? What do you mean? Oh, we're gonna be in the pit? No way, dude!"
Dang.
Yeah, it was actually really cool.
That's
Yeah,
cool.
yeah,
It's a good perk. I mean,
yeah.
you won, right? Was that the only prize? It was just like tickets and stuff?
Yeah, just like tickets. I think like a couple
Mm.
shirts
Some
and
swag.
stuff. Yeah, some swag, and then like I guess like a little placard saying, "Hey, you won Cover Arcade."
Mm.
That's pretty much it.
That's dope.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess a little bit of a pivot, but what draws you to your current career, passion, love audio and sound?
So I always I just like producing in general. I think even like past audio, right? I just like making stuff. Um, when I was younger, I think it was like in high school. That was kind of like when I kind of discovered like audio editing and like just writing music and stuff. And at the time, it was on accident actually. I was working on, I was actually making videos. I was just like making fun little, teleportation videos and like really fun like VFX stuff. And then I noticed like on the bottom there was like a audio track, and then you can record audio to it. So I was just like, oh, let me check this out really quick. And then I just recorded my voice. I'm like, can I do it in another lane? So I
Mm.
started recording myself to myself, and then it turned into sort of like this sort of fascination of like, what can I add to this to make it like even more? And then that was actually around the time I started becoming like a musician, right? And like I started learning like different instruments. So I had my drum set set up, put a microphone like next to my drum kit, played like random something random, and put it next to my guitar amp, and I played something along with the drums, put bass to it, put singing, and then by the end of it, I was just like, man, they just make a song, and and one of those moments is kind of like it feels like an epiphany. I had like an epiphany. I was like, man, this is the coolest thing ever. I want to do this like
Mm.
for the rest of my life. And that's when I disappointed my mom, right? Like I was like you don't want to be you don't want to be a nurse or whatever. What do you mean you want to do audio, right? And I think more. I think before I was so used to like working on my own. Like more recently, I love working with people. I love working with like any artist, any singer who has like this drive to just make something. And I feel like having like-minded people just who love to sing and who love to create is just what draws me even more to just making music and just like editing sound, right? And even like not even just like editing music, but even like doing it for like for like video, right? Like doing it for films and stuff. And I think that's pretty much where I kind of stand on that, right?
Mm.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't really have any insight into the industry of sound and audio engineering and
Mhm.
things like that. But what I want to ask, what is, I guess, in your experience, what is that trajectory like? What are some challenges? What are some things that people should know about getting into it? And then maybe what are the potential career avenues? I know there's a lot of bunch of questions in there, but
Like, what are the challenges of? Mm,
like I'm coming at this as someone who's not in this field and industry. I just want to know about like how do you approach a career in audio and like what are the different avenues you can take? What are the career trajectories? What are some challenges, etc.?
for what I know is that a lot of the people who get into audio and who get into like just anything with sound editing, I think a lot of the people that I've met have all been musicians, right? And I think most of the people that kind of fall into like editing and stuff were people who kind of like not necessarily failed at being a musician, but more so like they found out that that wasn't feasible as like a career.
I see.
So they kind of just moved into the next best thing where they can still do the things that they love, but in a more safer, I guess, expectation of like a career, right? One of the things I will say is if you do want to be like an audio editor, um, I guess be open to a lot of criticism and a lot of like editing because you're gonna meet like a lot of people who are basically like, oh, like I hate how this sounds. Like, can we redo it? And you have to just be open to that. And I think I think also just being having good social skills because you're gonna talk to a lot of people, right? Even if you think like, oh yeah, I want to be an engineer, I just want to be in the studio, I just want to edit. No, you're gonna be talking to a lot of people, no matter what you think. Yeah, it's actually really, yeah, basically,
It makes sense.
yeah.
So what are some, I don't know, common or the types of careers or types of jobs that people aspire to have in this industry? And I guess how do you get there?
So, so one of the ways is one of them is like being a sound editor, like for like post production. That's like kind of what I'm doing right now. You can be a bedroom producer. You can have like your setup like in your room, like on a laptop or whatever. You can make music that way. You can probably show it to the world on like YouTube or whatever. It's not like necessarily a way to start that career, but it is a way to kind of show yourself and promote yourself. Other things that you can do, there's a live sound also where you can do sound for venues. You can be a audio tech for a podcast, just like this guy, right? Right. Sorry. Things like that. Other things that you can do. Um, I think that's pretty much like the bulk of it because there's like a lot of things like in between that, like in like they're pretty much like umbrella stuff because you can have like say live sound. You can be the guy at the mixing board, or you can be a roadie. Like you could set up cables, you can tear down equipment, right? You can also be a coordinator for the event, right? I think it's more like concert stuff, but that also works in the same like realm. For like producing music, you can be the producer, you can be the songwriter, you can be the audio engineer, you could be the engineering tech. You can there's a lot of things that you can go into, and it's actually very widespread as like a career path, really. Because I think most of the time when people get there are specifics, right? When you like graduate from a certain field, like you have like the title like, oh yeah, music industry professional, whatever. But you can the things that they teach you in school for those things at like in like college, you can apply those to like a plethora of things. And I think that's great. I think that's why it is hard to get into, but I will say that there is still like a large margin of error that if you do mess up at your job at whatever you're doing, they're gonna cut you, right?
Mm,
So you have to be really good regardless. Yeah.
see.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like there's a lot of different avenues, commercial wise, or even like
Yeah.
technically in the field, and like you said, setting up stuff. So there's a lot of stuff out there. I guess my question is, any advice on and advice for people who maybe want to get into audio?
Oh,
Like, yeah, how would you advise them to get started?
I would say like if you have like any I practice, like really just practice on your own. If you have like an audio production, like any like audio editor, just like practice working with like clips or like tracks or whatever, and just see how certain sounds sort of react to each other because you're gonna be doing a lot of that later on, right? Like familiarize yourself with what you're working with, right? And that's common amongst like a lot of musicians, right? You hone your craft, you look into it, and you try to be the best at how like at a certain program as much as you can, and that by the time you work on like actual like industry level stuff, it's gonna be a cakewalk, right? Yeah, that's kind of how I thought about it too. Like I when I used before I worked with like a lot of like industry like stuff like Pro Tools, um, like Final Cut and like all that stuff. I was already cutting in like a very bare bones program, and that practice that I've had for like a long time helped me sort of get over the edge of being where I am now. Yeah.
Mm. All right, last question on this is if you could go back to just graduating high school for your career trajectory, is there anything you would redo or do differently?
I would take like graduating after high school.
Like you just graduated high school, you knew that you want to pursue this career.
Mhm.
Is there anything that you would redo or do differently?
I would take a lot more connections more seriously
Mm.
because I think when I after high school, I was still in this funk of like, am I good enough to do this? Am I good enough to, edit for anybody, right? And I had a lot of like self-doubt after high school. Like, because I really like when I was doing it after high school, I was really much more doing it as like a hobby. And I kind of did things on like my own time and like, whatever. But there was a lot of career opportunities that I was presented with that I did not take seriously because I didn't think I was good enough for them, right? And I think I said yes to a lot of those opportunities, I think I'd be in a much better place than I am right now in terms of my own career as like an like audio editor and like whatever. Yeah.
Just because just taking more opportunities.
Yeah.
I see. Okay, let's shift now. So I want to ask you about AKOOL. So
Mm.
how did you start it? What's the story behind it? And like, what is the name? What is AKOOL?
What is AKOOL? Okay, so AKOOL was basically a, like most K-pop like cover teams, just a bunch of friends who wanted to make like a thing, right? So AKOOL was actually started at UCR. It was like a bunch of my friends at UCR. We were at this K-pop club, and the K-pop club had like other groups of friends who made like fun little teams and stuff. Originally, we weren't called AKOOL. We were actually called Not Seven, like a long time ago. And because we were a bunch of seven dudes just doing a Got Seven song.
Mm,
So, that's what, it's kind of cheesy, right? So we did that, and then fast forward later. Oh, we also did. We recorded the song. We recorded a song by God Seven. We did God Seven Fly, and we did the dance to it. So it kind of started off this whole thing of like doing singing and dancing for K-pop covers. We didn't really take it seriously. Fast forward a little bit. My other friend who was also part of the club, he wanted to participate in that, but I didn't want to like ruin the Not Seven like name. So I was like, oh, let's kind of rebrand into like AKOOL, right? And AKOOL, the name is actually based off of the Blockberry creative group Luna, which is Loona.
mm,
And it's basically the way how it's a pretty long explanation. I think I'll tell you after the podcast.
okay.
Yeah, but it's pretty much referenced off of that. And um I basically started that again. Oh, I started that in like 2016, right? So basically, it was like a thing where I wanted people to kind of come together to do like collaborative singing projects because there's not a lot of teams like that, save for, like, who's that? Like Aurora, for example, right? Um, there's not a lot of teams that do that, and I wanted to do more things like that with my friends who also knew how to sing and stuff. So, and it was also like thinking about it now after kind of like restarting it, because from the time when I started AKOOL, I joined Untitled and I had to put AKOOL on like a bit of a break. And then when I left Untitled, I decided, no, let me revive AKOOL to do more stuff. And then so when AKOOL kind of came up, or when I brought AKOOL back up again, I thought of it as a really cool opportunity for me to sort of hone my craft as like a producer and audio engineer, and also to give opportunity to people who don't have the setup to record. To take for example like Blessy, right? She comes over, and you come over too, and like other people that I invite to do this project. Like I want people to be able to have fun doing a cover without it being kind of like weird, or like kind of like, oh, we have to do this, right? Or like trying to be too try hard, right? And like what I said when I was saying earlier, it's like working with people is a lot more easier for me because it allows me to like hone my skills as like an audio engineer. I think that right now that's kind of like like where AKOOL is kind of going. Yeah.
Mm. I like that. It's kind of like a triple win because you get to hone your craft,
Mm.
you get to build this community, socialize and whatnot, but also give them a space
Yeah.
to explore this avenue that they probably don't have.
Yeah, and there's a funny joke. I think I told you. It's like whenever people come over to record, it's like they're like, "Oh, how long does it take for us to record?" I was like, "Oh, maybe like 2 hours." But it's like it'd be 30 minutes of recording and then an hour 30 of just like talking,
Yeah, no,
right?
it's exactly like that.
Establishing like rapport. Yeah,
No, that's always the fun part where
yeah,
it's like the couple of times we came over and it was like, yeah, maybe 15, 20 minutes. And Blessy's like pretty fast, right?
yeah,
And so then it's just like 30 minutes of just talking and
yeah,
then 10 more minutes of recording, which is fun. I like
yeah,
that.
yeah,
So just for due diligence,
yeah.
TLDR, do you have the story of like what does AKOOL mean?
Um, so
You could sum it
AKOOL,
up.
yeah. So like what I said earlier, it's based off of the Blockberry creative group Luna, and Luna means Italia Sogno, which means girl of the month, right? I think I'm like butchering that Hangul like super
Okay,
hard
yeah,
right
yeah,
now.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So basically, how it works is with Luna's name, uh, it's the first letter of every syllable of that phrase.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So if you
It's
look
an
at how
acronym
like
off of that sort of.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So the way how we did it for AKOL, it would be Ichu Ie Sonyon, which is boy of the week, right? So it was like because we always when we were doing it, we released like teasers every week, right? So it's like,
Yeah.
oh, boy of the week, right? And
Yeah.
we were all guys, right?
Mhm.
And then so we that's how it came out, and then it turned into every time we have if it's an all girl thing, it would be girl of the week, right? And then
Mm.
because boy and girl have the same like first syllable for the name for Sonyo versus Sonyon,
Mhm.
just worked out in that way to be able to have it, especially be like a co-ed group. But that's pretty much like the idea of it.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay, but wait, hold on. But AKOOL, AKOOL?
Yeah. So I don't know if I'm able to like write it. I could show
Oh.
you.
Oh, I see, I see.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
like trying to do in my head. Like I know I can read Hangul, but I'm like,
Like
where's the
the ja, like this one.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. If you turn it, that makes it a K.
Oh, so like actually what it looks like?
What it looks like. So like the see it, the
Yeah, yeah,
S.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
that's the A.
Oh,
Yeah, and
okay,
then
okay. I
the yeah,
gotcha.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'll
so
show you later. You'll get it when we say
okay,
it.
I
Yeah.
get what you're saying now. So for
Yeah.
those of you who don't like read Korean or whatever, so like the symbols, the letter,
Yeah,
like
the
the
characters.
characters,
Yeah.
and you're saying you just kind of changed like you physically
Change the
like rotated
orientation of
it,
it. Yeah.
orientation, and then that made a cool.
Yeah, because
Gotcha.
that's also what they did for Luna
I
also.
see.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes,
Now
yes.
it clicks. All right.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you for that. Now, because I'm sure the audience will be like, wait, did he just pass over that? Like, what's this
What does that
teaser?
mean? Yeah. What does that mean?
Okay, cool. So let's go into. We talked about K-pop. I want to ask
Yeah.
you. Well, Kingdom Hearts is a topic, but what games are you into and why? Just the softball.
Oh, well, I really like playing a lot of like team-based games. So I like playing like League of Legends. I love playing Apex Legends.
Mm.
I also like playing Genshin Impact. Like a lot of like fantasy style like stuff. Apex Legends like a shooter. Valorant, I guess I kind of stopped playing it, but there's also like another one. I think I really like games that are just have great like music. Really,
Oh, there you go.
yeah. So like I played a lot of Rock Band and like Guitar Hero back in the day. So I was stuck on that when I was
That
in
checks
like
out. I can see
yeah.
that.
I was like playing. I actually it was funny because that was actually like Rock Band was actually one of the reasons why I got into drumming because I was like, wow, I can actually move my
Also,
hands.
this
And my
predated when you actually started learning instruments.
yes, yeah,
Mm.
yeah. maybe I should have got into that a little bit
So
earlier.
maybe Rock Band was a main influence for you.
I guess so, yeah.
That makes sense.
Now that I think about it, yeah, now that we mention it. Yeah, Rock Band I think was, like, one of those games I was trying to be, like, on the leaderboard, like, every time, like, "Oh, I gotta get perfect score," like, yeah. I was a sweat at Rock
Mm.
Band, yeah. No, yeah, it was, like, Rock Band, Guitar Hero, I love playing all those games, mentioned, like, Kingdom Hearts a little bit. I guess we'll kinda, like, dive into that later.
Yeah.
But yeah, basically, like, a lot of games that, like, involve, like, a lot of music. I love games like that.
Yeah. Okay, so then now Kingdom Hearts. Why Kingdom Hearts? What's so special about that game?
Yeah. I mean, you so Kingdom Hearts for me is like the storytelling is great, the gameplay is great. It's something about the game and like especially the music, right? I think Kingdom Hearts was also one of those really big influences for me, like just writing music. Because I when I was learning piano when I was like younger, I was like, man, I don't want to be playing like all this classical stuff. It's boring, right? And then when I heard a lot of Kingdom Hearts music, I was like, I want to learn how to
Oh,
play that, right? It's kind of like how people learn how to play like River Flows in You or like
yeah.
Wedding Dress, right? It's
Yeah.
kind of the same thing for me. Like I wanted to just learn how to play these songs, and I also wanted to write music like that, right? I think Yoko Shimomura, the composer of Kingdom Hearts, I think was and probably is one of my biggest influences, and I never get bored playing the game. I think like I can play the game like 10 times over. I can never get bored of it, right? Because the music kind of really just draws you in. And I think even like a lot of the sound design, like Keyblade, like sound effects and like a lot of the like sound effects from like other weapons and stuff, like it's almost like a masterclass. It feels really good to like play and I don't like I can probably go on and on about it,
Mm.
but I don't want to like
Well, I mean, yeah,
build
we
into
like to
it.
hear about it.
Yeah.
I'm also love Kingdom Hearts. That was like
Yeah.
a big staple for me in high school.
Yeah.
One of the main franchises that I played a lot, and I do a lot of solo like one player games. But another thing too is like a lot of our friends and like people who are really into gaming like Final Fantasy, and
Yeah.
this was
Yeah.
a Kingdom Hearts is like if you don't know what Kingdom Hearts is, it's kind of like a fusion of that Final Fantasy sort of genre vibe with Disney.
Yeah.
And so it combined these two crazy things, and then it worked really well. And now it's this huge thing, cultural, I don't know, cultural shift paradigm thing in like the video game world.
Yeah.
And I think to the point, this could also be a main influence, I guess, because it seemed like it really like made an impact on you growing up.
Yeah. I think it's funny because I remember we stumbled upon it on accident. My older brother just brought the game home, the
Mm.
first one, and he was like, "Oh, this looks cool, right?" We just
Yeah,
bought it, and he's like, "Oh, we see Donald Duck and like Goofy and like
yeah.
Mickey randomly." We're like, "What is this like Disney game, right?" And it's like anime looking, and we play it, and it's just like it's the coolest thing ever. Yeah,
Mhm.
friend, and I think like the overarching message of friendship, friendship being like there for your like everybody, and being the greater good and like a lot of stuff. I think that's just really cool. Very anime for sure, but
Yeah.
like it just feels good, especially when put into like a Disney context, and especially because like you get all these like like IPs of like like Little Mermaid,
Mhm.
like Lion King, right, being put into this new interpretation of it, and you're like, wow, and especially in like an anime sense, right? Like, wow, this is really cool. Like because you can watch the classics, right, and they're good because they're the classics, but to see them kind of reimagined in this
Yeah, and
context,
explore deeply in these different
exactly,
contexts.
yeah, but
Yeah.
basically, yeah,
I like that a lot too because Kingdom Hearts is what brought me more into Disney, meaning like learning about the worlds
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
the backstories behind it because they're really faithful to the spirit of all the worlds that they bring you in, and
yeah,
they touch almost everything in Disney classics, right?
yeah,
But they also bring in the world of Final Fantasy,
yeah,
all those characters, and that's how I also got more into the lore of Final
yeah,
Fantasy.
yeah,
But they just did it so well in the storytelling, the gameplay,
yeah, yeah,
and then just like the saga that has been playing out over time.
mhm.
There's still some games that I have not played through, like there, and so I'm just like,
Yeah,
it's on my list to just watch the playthroughs or watch like the
yeah.
cutscenes just to get
Yeah,
it.
I will tell
So
you,
yeah.
like certain games you don't have to play,
Right? No,
right? Like,
yeah,
well, no, I mean, like I would encourage you to watch the playthroughs, but you don't have to play them if you really don't want to. Because I've tried, and I'm just like, I'm just gonna watch a YouTube.
yeah.
Like,
No,
yeah,
that's why there were some of those games where it's like I know this is gonna be tedious. There's a lot
yeah,
of
yeah,
grinding, or like it's
yeah,
some of the handheld games. And it's like
yeah,
I don't really have the capacity or the platform to do this,
yeah.
but if I just watch the playthrough, I can get the value of
The
it
value of it, yeah,
and like the experience. But yeah, it is such a deep immersive world. I highly recommend it.
yeah.
Anything else on Kingdom Hearts or video games?
Not really, no. Like,
Just a huge recommendation. Go
yeah,
play Kingdom
just play
Hearts.
Kingdom Hearts if you like
Immerse yourself.
Disney. Like, I see all you Disney adults. Like, if you like anime and you like
Mhm.
Disney, Kingdom Hearts is for you, right?
Anime, Disney, video games. It's like the best like intersection of all of it.
Yeah.
One of my dream cosplays since I was younger
I think I know where this is coming from.
was like an Organization 13 outfit. And
I'm
so I eventually got it. So now that's one of my staples.
wait, you actually had like 13 other people that
No,
you
no, no, okay, so not
Oh.
with other people, but just the outfit itself,
Oh, okay, okay,
right?
yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah.
the hooded black, like, leather
Yeah,
robe sort
yeah,
of thing.
yeah.
I don't have keyblades, but just having the cosplay was like, I'm like, dude, let me just put me in as
Yeah.
Organization 13.
You
It's
just
so
walk
dope.
around.
Exactly.
I was thinking you're gonna be like, oh, let's just grab like 14 or like 13 of my other
Yeah, yeah,
friends
yeah.
and just show up with black coats and just randomly walk
That would
around.
be fun
Yeah,
if I found like X many other nerds to do it, and then
yeah.
all the different weapons that they have
Oh
too. But
yeah.
even then, it
You
would
could
be
just do
yeah.
the black coats,
No, no,
right?
yeah, you could just do the black coats, but I
Yeah.
think it'd be just another level. I'm sure people have done it.
I'm sure, yeah.
But like, what is it? What are the two keyblades? Just to nerd out a bit. It was
Oathkeeper,
Keeper and
Oblivion.
Oblivion.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
those are the ones. I'm like, oh, the like
You
the
got it.
silver white one with the black
Yeah.
one. Oh,
Yeah,
so good.
Roxas, yeah.
Yeah, that was like my dream cosplay. So yeah, it'll happen one day.
One day.
Okay. Anything else on topic of games, Kingdom Hearts, or K-pop
Um,
before I move on?
Not really, no. I don't think we have. I mean, it was a little nice little
Yeah,
thing, yeah.
just a little nostalgia. I've not played
Yeah.
Kingdom Hearts in a while,
Yeah.
so
Wait, what's your favorite? Have you played all three of them? Like the main titles?
so I didn't play the third one. I
Oh,
played the
really?
first two, and then the third one came out what 10 something years ago, something like
No, I
that.
think it was like 5 years
Oh,
ago.
5 years ago. Okay,
Some
whatever.
whatever.
I just never got to it
Yeah,
because
yeah,
I've been
yeah.
on a video game hiatus since then.
Oh, okay.
So, but it's obviously top of my list. Like
Yeah.
when I get back into video games, like I do like a 6 month stint back into it just to get back onto the drug.
Mhm.
And like I did some first person shooters like the Call of Duties and like
Mm.
Assassin's Creed and God
Yeah.
of War. And I'm supposed to get back into to catch up on GTA, but
Oh,
also Kingdom Hearts is on there and also Final
yeah.
Fantasy, whatever the most recent ones are.
Yeah.
So, but those, for anyone knows, those are like a grind. So I'm
Yeah,
just
they're
like,
very
let me just
much.
get the first person shooters out of the way. Those are faster. You usually just get through the
Yeah.
story.
Yeah.
All right. So rapid fire. You ready?
Sure.
Cool. First one, billboard question. If you could put up a sign for millions of people to see, metaphorically, non commercial, what would it say?
Mm, if you have a voice, use it. And I mean that in the way of like if you like, if you want to perform, if you want to sing, go out and sing, right? If you have this song that you want to put out that song. Or, if there's an issue and it's bothering you, speak up, right? Things like that are like pretty important part of my life, just talking about like, oh, I don't like it when things are kind of just like miscommunicated, basically. Yeah.
I like it. What is one of the hardest challenges you faced in your life and what did you learn from it?
I think having that I had a bit of a depressive episode like kind of after high school, like when I started college and until now, because I had a lot of like self-doubt and in like my skill as like a audio engineer and just like working on music in general because I was like, you see all these people being like amazing and I think overcoming that was probably the biggest hurdle of my life and just understanding that maybe I am good at what I do, And yeah, I think that was probably the biggest challenge for sure.
What was like the, I guess, takeaway or what did you learn from that? Because so you said you had this sort of doubt and
Mhm.
then you sort of overcame it. Did something help, a strategy, mindset, or something that someone told you that helped?
Yeah, so there was a one of my classes, I had a acoustics class, which was like, studying like sound in like a space. Um, I did a final project and he emailed me. My professor emailed me. He was like, "Hey RJ, can you call me back at this number? We gotta talk about your final project." And I was like, "Oh my god, I like messed it up." I was like, "I'm gonna fail the class, right?" And that was already when my self doubt was like at its highest, right? And so he called me, and I called him, and I was like, "Professor, like, you want to talk to me about my final project?" And he was like, "Yeah, amazing job." And I was like, "Oh my god!" Like weight was lifted off my
Mm.
shoulders. And then he told me he was like, and I asked him like, "Sir, wouldn't this have like suffice in like an email or like a text, right?"
This
Yeah,
meeting could have been an email.
yeah, this could have been an email. And he told me, he was like, well, that's the thing I wanted to talk to you about. Why is it that this project that I'm getting, this amazing project, is coming from somebody who only has a B minus in my class?
Mm.
Right. And then that made me think, I'm like, oh, it just shows that I am capable of making great content. I'm able of making great things. I just didn't have the drive to do it. And I didn't have sort of the validation to do it. Granted, like you don't have to have other people validate your work, but in this kind of field, and your friends and family can tell you all the time, like, "Oh, you're really good," but it doesn't really sell that much, right? when you're being told something like that from an industry professional, and I've had that happen to me multiple times, where like you have ears, or this is great, I love this, right? I'm just like, okay, it makes me feel like maybe I do know what I'm doing, right? And I think that helped me really get over that challenge of self doubt for sure. And that's when tie it back to AKOOL, working with other people, because I know people, I'm confident in my ability to now help other people and produce other people in that regard.
I like it.
Yeah.
Self-inflicted wound. Do you have a story about something that's gone wrong in your life and you can't blame anyone because it's your own fault?
I think when, mm, not that I think my laziness maybe, right? I think that was the biggest thing. That's part of like the whole like overcoming that challenge. Um, my laziness is kind of like a big thing for that, because before I kind of like got complacent, even when I thought I was good, I really wasn't, right?
Mm.
Um,
There's always the next level you can get
there's
to.
always the next level, yeah. Um, after that, I can't really. I don't think I've had enough introspection for me to really think about it too much. But I would say it was just be me, my complacency and just my laziness, really.
Mm.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Okay, if you could give your younger self advice, what would it be now? Any age?
um, I have a funny one. Tell her you like her.
Is there a story
Yeah, that's a
behind this? Would you
story.
like to tell
Yeah,
it or no?
no, just that was when I was like in high school.
Uh,
Yeah, no. I think another like more serious note, like
wait, did you
uh,
not tell her?
I never told her.
Ah,
Yeah, she got is the one that got away. One of
gotcha,
those.
gotcha.
Yeah. Um, on a more serious note, yeah. Take your education more seriously. Because like when I was a kid, I was like, man, school's lame, right? Like I just want to play video games all the time. Like, no, 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 no. Take it more seriously. You'll be in a much better place you are than now. Because like there's the repercussions of not taking your education seriously. You have to work harder in life, right?
Mm,
Um, work hard now, have fun later. That whole thing. Yeah,
yeah, like don't put it off for too
don't put it
long.
off for too long.
What in the last few years, what new belief, behavior, or habit has improved your life?
Mm, no one is coming to save you but you. And I realized that in order for me to improve my own, or in order for me, I can't expect people to like say like help me all the time, right? So I've sort of just come to terms with becoming my own savior, really, right? If I have an issue, I have to address it on my own. I can't rely on anybody to help me with it. And, it's fine to have like your own like support group to like help you with stuff, but in the end of the day, you have to be like your own savior, really. Yeah,
I like it. Taking responsibility.
yeah.
How do you define success?
Hmm. I think it's more so defined by like the connections that you make with people, right? If people believe in what you do is like good, then I think you have a pretty successful life, right? Because you can be really good at what you want at what you do, like when you're alone or like whatever. But if people don't believe in what you do, and if people don't see the value in what you do, then what you do means nothing really. And that's
Interesting.
yeah,
So so it's like dependent on the outside feedback, or
it's dependent on like creating connections with people in order to like, how do I say this? Because before, like when I was when I did music, like when I would do music as like a hobby, I always did it by myself, and I was like not super happy doing it because I felt like I was just doing it just to do it.
Mm,
When I started working with people who were just as inclined to do that thing with me, I think that's where the kind of success kind of like rolls in, because it's more of like a community based or like collaborative based thing.
oh, I see. So
Yeah.
it feels like, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's that next level of okay, you can do something for yourself and it's fun and that's great. But when you get to that next level of you doing it in a community and you get that validation and there's more fulfillment there.
Yeah,
Mm,
because you're both winning in the very end, right? Like especially whoever you're with and whoever you're working with, right? Because you don't want to be selfish, right? 'Cause, you have all this skill and like whatever, and if you can't show that to the world and you
oh,
can't share it, right? There's no point in even doing it,
I
right?
see. So it's like a gift is meant to be shared with the world.
Yes.
I like it. If you knew you couldn't fail, what would you be trying or doing right now? And subsequently, if you knew you would absolutely fail, what would you do anyway?
If I couldn't fail,
Mhm.
if I couldn't fail, I would open up my own recording studio. If I
Mm.
couldn't fail, and if I had like all of the materials and all like the finance for it, if it was just given to me, I would totally do that. And then what was the other question? I'm sorry.
Sorry. So open a recording studio and then what?
Um,
Like
you're just
be a
like,
producer for artists
yeah,
or
be a producer for artists. Make write music for people. Just create a space for like even newer artists or even newer bands to kind of show up and just record music if they wanted to.
also being a part of like the music industry.
Yeah,
Oh, I see.
yeah.
And then if you knew you would absolutely fail, what would you do anyway?
If I would absolutely fail, I'd probably be a nurse.
If you knew you would fail, you would go into
Yeah, I
nursing.
would go into nursing.
Sorry, I'm probably gonna kill you because I'm
Yeah.
absolutely gonna fail.
Yeah. No, I mean I mean like in terms of like if I knew I was gonna fail like music,
Oh,
like I would probably just go back to I would probably go into nursing because that would be like the same. Or I don't know if I'm misunderstanding
oh,
the
I see
question.
what you're saying.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so I like that answer. The spirit of the question is like, what would you do, or what would you continue doing that you enjoy so much that even if you are a failure, quote unquote,
Mm.
you would still be doing it?
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, then probably just still music then.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or nursing.
Or nursing.
Let's still do nursing.
Yeah, still do nursing.
What is something you've been pondering either frequently or deeply,
Mm,
or both?
am I still am I making my parents proud?
Mm.
Yeah. Because at the end of the day, like, you do all these things for yourself, right? And like I think it's like my parents, they support me in like whatever I do, right? Like my dad is my biggest supporter, and then but my mom supports me too, but she's like my harshest critic,
Yeah.
right? Right? I'm thankful for it too because like even when I'm like playing at church, right? My mom would like I would play really well, and my mom would be like, "Anak, you should have played this differently." I'm like, "Mom," I'm like, no, but like, and it's that sort of thing where it's like, am I doing well enough that my parents are proud of me, and or rather, am I not doing enough, right? And I always think about that too because it goes back to like that Filipino like comparison, right? It's like all your family, your cousins are like off doing like amazing things, and you're kind of just sitting on your own, like trying to make things work, right?
Mm.
Trying to make it happen. But I think that's like one of the things that's constantly on my mind because I never want to disappoint my parents because probably because I'm Asian, right?
Mm.
But I also don't want to have them worry about me too much, right? And I think that's kind of the
Mm.
yeah.
Have you ever asked them, or do you know how they feel about you and all that?
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah. They have my mom especially. She
Mm.
has been very verbal about
Mm.
like my career choice and like it's like you can't like just go back to nursing.
Yeah.
It always just goes back to nursing, right?
So they are proud of you, but still
Yeah,
like
and
worries
to
for you.
to degrees like they've expressed like yeah, like you did a good job, like stuff like that.
Mm.
But and like I even told my dad like I'm actually gonna go back to school. I don't know. I should have probably mentioned that in the beginning. I'm actually going back to school, and my dad was like, "Yes, thank you." Right,
That one.
that
That's
one.
what
I
I've been
love
waiting
that.
for.
Right? No, but yeah,
For what?
I'm gonna go back for music industry study.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I'm gonna actually be going to Cal Poly Pomona like sometime next year. That's kind of
Mm.
the plan. Like I do have a degree in like audio editing and audio art, right? But then I wanted to kind of expand my repertoire, right? And just because like at this point, I think I have enough know how
Yeah.
that it's just a formality for me to
Right.
just
So
do
you
this.
can you have the skills to do the thing, but adding education to expand your knowledge, repertoire, etc.
Yeah,
can only help.
yeah.
Do you have a favorite hot take or something that you think most people won't agree with?
Uh, Favorite hot take? Mm, well, this one's for K-pop.
Yes.
Um,
We like K-pop hot takes.
BTS didn't pave the way.
Ah,
SNS paved the way for K-pop.
SNSD.
Or
Oh,
SNS.
SNS.
Yeah, like social
Oh,
media.
oh,
Oh,
that's
yeah, SNSD.
oh.
Maybe
I was like,
SNSD.
my head went to SNSD. I was like,
Yeah,
oh yeah,
SNSD.
that's
Yeah,
arguable. Yeah,
yeah. No, no, yeah. Like social media paved the way for K-pop for sure.
that
And
makes sense.
it's because the reason why BTS became a big thing in the first place is because of social media.
That's true.
And if that didn't exist, would we even know about BTS, right?
So it
You
was
know,
like good timing. They
good
just came
timing.
at the right time
Yeah.
because, like, even before then, with like um, Big Bang and everyone
Yeah,
before
like
that,
EXO or like
it's not
whoever.
like they weren't as talented,
Exactly.
or actually the more of a pioneer. But
Mhm.
the social media, the timing of that, I think that's a good hot take.
Yeah.
What is one of the best or most worthwhile investments you've ever made in either time, money, energy, etc.?
Mm, I think finally buying Pro Tools for the first time.
Mm,
Pro Tools is like a digital audio workstation. It basically, is like industry standard, like a workstation to just create and just produce music. For a while, I was sitting on like this like random like audio editor that I was just using because it was free.
yeah.
You don't want to spend too much money, but then because of that audio editor, and I try to like hone my skills in that audio editor. Once I got into the industry standard like Pro Tools thing, I was like, oh my god, this is so easy now, right? It's like like a lot more fine tuned and a lot more easier to use. And I think a lot of my music has gotten a lot better because of that. And a lot of my audio.
Nice. All right, last one. Favorite books, movies, videos, articles, or any media that you share or recommend the most?
Um, One book that I would recommend would be called The Content Trap. It was actually a book that I read in college. It's by Bharat Anand, I think.
Mhm.
It basically talks about the sort of connections that you create with like socially or like career wise or like product wise, right? And by connections, I mean like like social connections, as if like we're talking to each other. That's a social connection. Another connection you would have, like let's say if you're an audio engineer or you're like a producer or like a songwriter, but you have another thing. You also are a videographer, right? It's like, well, I can produce your song. It's like, hey, like we're done with the song. You want to make a music video? I'm a videographer. It's like that, like creating like
Mm,
sort of things in that way to kind of expand your already given skill set. Basically, it's really cool. It's a
mm.
really fun read. Yeah,
Cool, nice.
yeah,
I'll link that in the
yeah.
show notes. All right, that is it for rapid fire questions. We'll get into ending questions. So we always end with gratitude. Shout out to my mom. RJ, what are you grateful for?
Um, well, I'm grateful for my parents, my family. They've always been supportive in what I do. Grateful to a lot of my friends who kind of like I talk a lot of tea and like all that stuff with. Basically, you
RJ
know,
likes the tea.
I love tea.
So does Blessy. Blessy
Yeah,
loves the tea. So
yeah,
that's why whenever we come over, she asks for tea, and then
yeah.
you give us tea, and then she's like, "Not that guy."
I was like, oh, my bad. I think I misunderstood you. No, yeah, and I'm grateful to a lot of my friends who are supportive of like the things I like to do, and like especially even like people who like want to be part of AKOOL, right? Not like be a member, but just like participate in the project.
Mhm.
That's really cool.
Contribute and
Yeah,
everything.
contribute and everything. Um, yeah, like I guess yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah, I don't have like any. I'm very easy to please, if
Mm-hmm.
anything. Yeah,
Nice. I
yeah.
like it. All right. Do you have any final ask from the audience or any final takeaways you'd like them to have from this conversation?
Um, I don't think so. No, like I'm
You
trying
know
to
what? Just you take whatever you got
go
from
play
this.
Kingdom Hearts.
There you go. That's a
Go
good.
play
That's a
Kingdom
good
Hearts.
takeaway.
Yeah.
All right. RJ, where can people find you if they want to connect, see what you're up to or whatnot?
So I am on Instagram. I think JR will
Yeah,
have like
we'll
my
link it.
on the description below.
J Manalo 13.
Yes.
Nice.
And then I'm also on YouTube at RJ Manalo Music. And I also have a page for A Cool the World. So that's also another one that'll also be in the description below. And that's pretty much That's pretty much it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll link everything in the show notes. So if you guys are interested in what RJ's up to, he is like I said, I've been to his place a couple times for the recording. He is a consummate professional, really fun to work with. A lot of our mutual friends work with you a lot and he puts out a lot of good work and as you can tell, he's very passionate about it. So if you're interested in any of that stuff, definitely hit him up. I recommend him. Cool. All right. Well, that is it. RJ, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
Yep.
Thank you for sharing your insights. I learned a lot. So hopefully the audiences too.
Mhm.
For everyone else out there, be sure to like, subscribe, follow, comments, leave RJ some love in the comments, etc. Let us know what you liked about this, and if you want us to cover any more topics. So yeah, just a reminder for my final sign off. Thank you guys for being here. Reminder to always be kind to other people, especially yourself, and reminder that you can always learn something from someone if you take the time to listen. So thanks for listening.